The ocean was quiet that morning, too quiet in a way that made seasoned sailors stop mid-stride, look at the horizon, and feel something they couldn't name tighten in their gut. On the deck of the USS Harrington, Senior Chief, Petty Officer Noah Calder stopped walking when he felt the faintest tremor run through the steel beneath his boots. Not a wave, not an engine shift, something else. He lifted his head. The wind was gentle, the sky pale, the sea flat, but the ship's skin felt alert as though it had shivered before anyone else knew why. "Senior Chief." A young voice called from behind him. "It's doing it again." Calder turned to see Airman Jake Moreno jogging toward him wide-eyed and clutching a clipboard he didn't need but held anyway to steady his nerves. Jake had been aboard barely 3 months and still had the jittery earnestness of a sailor who wanted desperately not to mess anything up. "The CIWS is buzzing," Jake said, "like it did last week, and yesterday." And Noah raised one hand. "Show me." The close-in weapon system sat forward on the starboard side, squat and white and ugly in a way only sailors could love, like a junkyard dog that had earned its place one scar at a time. Sailors called it all sorts of names: the metal hive, the fast broom, the veteran toaster. But today Jake used the word everyone had been whispering for a month. Faulty. Noah didn't say the word back. The worst thing you could call an old machine wasn't broken. It was forgotten. The two men climbed to the platform. The air felt colder up here, closer to the wind. Jake hovered near the railing as Noah approached the turret, rested his palm on the metal casing, and closed his eyes for half a second. The machine vibrated, not wildly, not dangerously, just enough to feel alive. Behind him, Jake shifted. "Senior Chief, how can you tell if it's actually malfunctioning?" "Because machines have habits," Noah said quietly. "Just like people. When they break messy. When they whisper, it's different." Jake stared at the CIWS the way a kid stares at a sleeping dog he isn't sure likes him. The turret hummed again, one soft, abrupt chirp. "There," Jake whispered. "You heard it." "Yep. That's new." "Right." "No," Noah said, his eyes narrowing. "That's old." The CIWS rotated a single degree to the left, not a full diagnostic sweep, just a nudge, as if listening to something far away. Jake swallowed. "Senior Chief, what would make it do that?" "A memory," Noah murmured before he could stop himself. Jake tilted his head. Sir Noah didn't answer. Not yet. Because the truth felt too strange to say out loud, this was not the first time a Navy system had felt something before human eyes caught up. His father, rest his soul, had sworn that old war machines sometimes reacted to familiar ghosts, echoes of patterns long gone. But echo or not, something was happening now. "Log it," Noah said. "Everything. Every sound, every twitch. Don't skip anything." Jake nodded quickly and scribbled notes, though his handwriting shook enough to prove he was scared. By the time they left the platform, sailors across the ship were already whispering. Everyone had heard the talk over the last few weeks, the CIWS scanning on its own, pinging on empty skies, turning when nothing moved. Some joked it was haunted by sailors lost at sea. Others said electromagnetic interference. Noah said nothing, because every time the system acted strange, he felt that same pulse in the hull like a heartbeat out of rhythm. At breakfast, the mess hall buzzed with rumors. Maybe it's picking up Russian scout drones. No, it's too slow for drones. What if it's Chinese ghost signals? What the hell is a ghost signal? That's what I'm saying, bro. I don't know. Noah sat alone with a cup of black coffee that tasted like burned rope. He didn't touch his eggs. He didn't hear the chatter. He was staring at a worn envelope he had brought out of his pocket, its edges yellowed by time and salt. Inside the envelope was a letter written by a Japanese airman 81 years earlier, the handwriting neat, the ink faded, the final sentence burned in memory. "If someone finds this, tell my brother I did not die in shame." The airman's plane had gone down during a WWII raid, never recorded in official logs. Noah's grandfather, a diver at the time, had found the wreck and kept the letter safe until he died. And now Noah carried it, a promise unfulfilled, for 3 generations. Jake approached quietly, sliding into the seat across from him. "Senior Chief Intel wants you." "About the toaster?" Noah asked. about whatever the hell it's seeing. Moments later, Noah stepped into the Combat Information Center. The room was dim lit by screens glowing ocean blue. Officers looked up as he entered, faces tense with a type of worry sailors never voiced unless necessary. On the center display, radar sweeps pulsed in slow rotations. Nothing there, nothing visible. But there was a tiny blip, a faint stutter, not a return, more like an echo. "Senior Chief Calder." A voice crackled from a monitor. A woman with dark hair pinned back in a bun looked at him from the screen. "This is Commander Alyssa Park, Naval Intelligence. We received reports of repeated unsolicited acquisitions from your CIWS. Confirmed." She tapped something off-screen. "Are you familiar with echo vector events?" Noah frowned. "Long-range pattern detections. Pre-visual anomalies?" "Exactly. Ghost range signatures sometimes precede stealth ordnance or low-profile aircraft." Jake stiffened beside him. "Sir," he asked quietly, "you think this is an attack coming?" Before Park could answer, a second blip flashed on the screen, then vanished, then returned closer. Park's voice dropped. "Senior Chief? What's your professional assessment?" Noah felt the steel beneath him, felt the air shift, felt the quiet tension of a machine that was no longer whispering but listening. "My assessment," he said softly, "the CIWS isn't faulty." He hesitated. "It's warning us." The room stilled. Then another blip appeared, and another faint, tight flying in formation. Park straightened. "Harrington, prepare for possible inbound aircraft." Officers scrambled, orders flew. Alarms stayed silent, but ready. But Noah wasn't looking at the screens anymore. He was looking at the letter in his hand, at the handwriting of a young Japanese airman who died 8 decades earlier, at the weight of a promise never kept. Jake whispered beside him, "Senior Chief, you okay?" Noah closed the letter carefully. "Yes," he said, "because whatever's coming, this isn't the first time I've seen its shape." Jake's eyes widened. "You mean—" The ship vibrated again, softly, like a heartbeat. Noah looked at the radar, at the faint formation approaching, and at the CIWS turret that was already turning toward the sky. He took a long breath. "Brace yourself," he said quietly. "History's about to knock." The sky had not yet broken open, but the air felt wrong, tense, heavy, waiting. Noah Calder stood on the forward deck, gaze fixed on the horizon where faint darting shadows flickered beneath a thick sheet of clouds. Jake Moreno stood beside him, half hidden behind the guardrail, trying and failing not to look terrified. "Senior Chief," he whispered, "Intel says the radar's glitching. They think we're reading weather. That Noah said is not weather." The CIWS turret let out another abrupt chirp, sharper this time, turning 2 degrees to starboard as though tracking something only it could hear. The ship's metal frame shuddered lightly beneath Noah's boots. Not fear, readiness. Then it happened. A shape broke through the low clouds, sleek fast, angling toward the sea before leveling out. A jet, but not one Noah recognized. Its silhouette was narrow, almost retro in design, its wings swept in a style that looked more like a photograph from the 1940s than anything modern. Jake gasped. "What kind of aircraft is that?" "Not one we've trained against," Noah answered. 3 more shapes appeared behind it, flying tight, precise, disciplined. Too coordinated to be a random flyover, too quiet to be friendly. The ship erupted into motion. Action stations. Moved sailors rushed to positions. Officers shouted into radios. The klaxon blared, echoing across steel. The deck vibrated as systems spun to life. But the jets did not fire. They did not even accelerate. They descended and approached as though following a choreography older than anyone aboard. Jake clutched Noah's sleeve. "Are they attacking us?" Noah looked at the formation, low altitude, slightly staggered, angled toward the sea. He had seen this approach before in old war footage his grandfather used to show him, footage of young pilots who believed in duty more than survival, pilots who flew with letters tucked beneath their flight suits. Not again, Noah thought. The CIWS hummed louder now, its turret head locking onto an invisible point beyond the jets. Noah stepped closer, pressing his palm against the warm metal. "What are you seeing?" he whispered, as if the machine might answer. Another chirp, higher, urgent. Then a sound sliced across the waves, a thin, sharp whine too low to be a jet engine, too fast to be a bird, too deliberate to be a trick of the wind. Jake squinted toward the horizon. "Senior Chief, there's something under them." Noah followed his line of sight, a glint barely visible skimming the water. Not a jet, not a drone. Something smaller, sleeker, lower. A sea-skimming missile. The jets weren't attacking the Harrington. They were chasing the threat, trying to intercept it, but they were too far, too high, too slow. The only thing close enough to stop it was the very machine everyone had been calling faulty. Noah's blood ran cold. "Contact close," he shouted. The missile darted through a burst of sea spray, its nose slicing the surface like a knife. It was maybe 10 seconds from impact. 15 if luck intervened. Officers yelled. The captain demanded ranges. The deck became a storm of movement, but the CIWS did not wait. It spun toward the incoming missile and let out one final piercing tone, clear, perfect, unmistakable. Jake's voice shook. "It's engaging on its own." "Then let it." Noah roared. The turret surged and fired. A metallic roar tore through the air so loud it turned the world into vibration and force. The sky lit with streaks of tungsten. The rounds tore into the ocean, cutting a violent path directly toward the missile. A split second later, impact. A deep boom rolled across the sea as water exploded upward, steam fragments smoke rising like a brief ghost before being swallowed by the wind. The missile disintegrated in a bloom of spray. Silence crashed down after it. The jets banked upward sharply, climbing through the clouds. The lead pilot dipped its wings once toward the Harrington, once toward the plume of white foam, before disappearing back into the sky. "Friendly salute?" Jake asked. "Or a thank you," Noah said. The sound of the explosion still echoed across the water. By the time the adrenaline faded, the deck was filled with officers demanding explanations, engineers muttering theories, and sailors whispering how close they'd come to disappearing beneath the waves. But Noah didn't join the chaos. He returned to the bow where the wind carried a strange calm after the storm. He slipped the weathered envelope from his pocket and unfolded the letter from 81 years earlier. The ink was faint, the handwriting young. "If someone finds this, tell my brother I did not die in shame." Noah read the line 3 times. Jake approached him slowly. "Senior Chief, what you said earlier, do you really think this wasn't the first time you'd seen that flight pattern?" Noah nodded. "My grandfather showed it to me. Same angles, same throttle dips, same tight formation. Those pilots died before they understood the war they were used in." He tapped the letter. "Some of them left these behind." The young sailor swallowed. "Do you think the pilots today were connected somehow? Descendants?" "Maybe," Noah said. "Or maybe they were honoring something old, something their predecessors never got to finish." Jake hesitated. "If they were chasing the missile, does that mean they were protecting us?" Noah's voice softened. "Seems like it." Jake looked at the sky where the jets had vanished. "Sir, why would they do that?" "Because," Noah whispered, "sometimes the past doesn't stay buried. It circles back, gives us one more chance to get it right." The Harrington continued its slow patrol engines, steady crew unsettled but safe. But the longer Noah stared at the letter, the more a single question grew heavy inside him. Why had the CIWS recognized the pattern before the radar? Why had it reacted with memory, not malfunction? Why did the jets fly as though reenacting something sacred? A soft beeping broke his thoughts. Jake held out his tablet, eyes wide. "Senior Chief, we just got a message. From Intel." "No," Jake whispered. "From a Japanese vessel." Noah felt his heart pound once like a drum. "What does it say?" Jake turned the screen to him. The message contained only one line. "We saw the threat. Your system saw it first. Honor shared." Below it was an attachment. A photograph taken from the cockpit of one of the jets. It showed the sea skimmer moments before the CIWS destroyed it. And in the corner of the photograph, almost too small to notice a symbol, was painted on the inside of the pilot's helmet. A character. A single kanji. Yi-gi. Honor. Noah felt the wind leave his lungs. Jake whispered, "Senior Chief, what does it mean?" "It means," Noah said softly, We're not the only ones living with ghosts. Night fell slowly, turning the ocean into a vast sheet of black glass. Sailors moved quietly, the ship humming beneath them like a restless memory. Noah returned to the deck with the letter, holding it against the cool night air, staring up at the stars that glimmered like scattered lanterns. When he heard footsteps, he didn't turn. He already knew it was Jake. Senior Chief Jake said, "What are you going to do with the letter?" Noah folded it once, gently. "What should have been done decades ago." "You think they'll take it? I think it belongs to them." Jake stared at the dark horizon. "Do you think they knew that we had something connected to their past?" "No," Noah said. "But I think they felt it." He looked at the CIWS turret. The metal gleamed faintly in the moonlight. It was still now, quiet, almost peaceful, almost relieved. Jake wrapped his arms around himself as the wind picked up. "Senior Chief, do machines remember?" Noah ran his hand over the turret's casing. "Sometimes, but today," he paused. "Today I think it wasn't the machine that remembered." "Then what did?" "The ocean," Noah murmured. "History. Maybe even the people who didn't get to finish what they started." He exhaled slowly. "And tomorrow, we finish it." Jake looked at him. "You mean?" Noah nodded. "We're returning the letter." Dawn crept over the horizon like a slow breath, brushing pale gold across the surface of the sea. The USS Harrington moved at reduced speed, cutting toward a point in the water marked only by a set of coordinates, a quiet rendezvous agreed upon in a half-coded message the night before. No official orders, no formal channels, just a line of trust extended across an ocean that once held nothing but fire between the two nations. Noah Calder stood at the bow, the old letter in his hand. Jake Moreno stayed at his side, clutching a small sealed case. Both men watched the horizon with the kind of silence reserved for moments that feel larger than life. The lookout called down. "Contact bearing 090, single vessel." Noah's breath steadied. There they are. Out of the thinning morning fog, a Japanese maritime self-defense force destroyer emerged, sleek, modern, its lines sharp against the soft dawn. It slowed as it approached, keeping a respectful distance. No signals blared, no loud broadcasts. Just two ships drifting closer until their silhouettes mirrored each other across the calm water. Crew members lined the rails on both sides, Americans in navy blue, Japanese sailors in muted gray. No weapons held, no helmets on heads, just human faces watching across the water, curious, solemn, aware that something meaningful was about to happen. A Japanese officer stepped forward on the opposite deck, young, composed, wearing an expression that mixed discipline with something gentler. He bowed once, deeply. Noah returned the bow, then nodded to Jake, who passed him the sealed case. "You sure you want to do this?" Senior Chief Jake asked. "It was never mine to keep," Noah said. With slow, deliberate movements, Noah affixed the sealed case to the transfer line strung between the ships. The cable hummed as it moved, sliding the small container toward the Japanese deck. The young officer received it with both hands. Not military formality, something closer to reverence. He opened it in full view, lifting the worn envelope and brass ID tag as if they were relics from a shrine. His eyes softened. He spoke English carefully. "This belonged to Lieutenant Haruto Ishikawa. Our records say he never returned from his mission. They never found his aircraft." Noah nodded once. "My grandfather found the wreck. He passed the letter to me. I've been trying to return it to his family for decades." The officer held the letter gently against his chest. "His brother died 10 years ago, but his descendants still remember his name." He paused. This will matter to them." Jake watched, breath caught somewhere between awe and disbelief. "Senior Chief, this is history." Noah didn't answer. He was staring at the Japanese officer who lifted the ID tag toward the morning light. The rising sun reflected off the metal, creating a shimmering flash that landed squarely across the Harrington's deck. For a moment, the two ships seemed bridged by nothing more than a glint of gold and a shared past. Then something unexpected happened. The CIWS turret behind Noah, the same one everyone had called faulty, haunted, unpredictable, let out a soft, low chime. Not a warning, not an error, just a single gentle note, like a sigh released after holding its breath for too long. Every sailor aboard heard it. Jake turned slowly. "Senior Chief, did it just thank us?" Noah placed his hand on the turret's casing. It felt warm beneath the morning sun. Maybe he said. Or maybe it just recognized that the thing it saved us from wasn't the only thing that needed stopping. The Japanese officer bowed again, deeper this time. "Your system reacted before our pilots could. You trusted it. And because of that, our message reached you in time." Noah shook his head. "Your pilots were the ones who risked closing distance. They flew an old pattern for a reason." The officer's eyes glimmered. "It was their way of honoring those who flew before them. We did not know your ship carried a piece of our missing past, but now, perhaps the sea knew." The wind moved gently between the ships. Somewhere below deck the engines hummed in steady rhythm like a heartbeat settling after a long fright. The officer lifted the letter once more, bowed his head, and spoke words too soft for microphones, but loud enough for everyone watching. "We honor him, and we honor you." Noah felt something loosen in his chest, something old, something tight, something he had inherited without asking. For a long time he had carried someone else's final message. Now he had finally let it go home. The two ships slowly drifted apart. Flags lifted, voices quieted, the water between them shimmered under the rising sun. Jake let out a long breath. "Senior Chief, do you think the pilots knew that their pattern would mean something to you?" Noah smiled faintly. "Maybe they didn't need to know. Maybe sometimes we all just follow echoes." He rested his hand on the CIWS casing one last time, feeling the machine's stillness, a peaceful stillness that hadn't been there before. "Faulty," Jake murmured. "That's what everyone kept calling it." Noah shook his head. "Sometimes things aren't faulty. Sometimes they're just remembering what we forgot." The horizon brightened into a sheet of gold. The sea shimmered, and for the first time since the storm began, before any clouds had formed, before any pilots had seen what was coming, the ship felt calm. Jake broke the silence. "Senior Chief, can I ask you a weird question?" "Go on. What do you think the CIWS would say if it could talk?" Noah looked at the turret, at the ocean, at the sky where the jets had vanished. "It would say," he answered softly, "pay attention. Some warnings come from the past." Jake grinned. "That's kind of poetic for a machine." Noah chuckled. "War leaves poetry everywhere. Most of us just don't read it." The ship turned back toward open water. The ocean stretched wide, endless, full of things seen and unseen. As the Harrington cut forward, decks bathed in sunlight, Noah glanced once more at the sky and whispered, "Rest easy, Lieutenant. You're home." And the sea swallowed the words gently, as if carrying them across the waves to wherever they needed to go.